Welcome to Wrinkle Society of Hope. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you are returning, thank you so much for continuing to support and follow Wrinkle Society of Hope. Today, you are going to hear an amazing woman tell her stories of the wrinkles that she had pressed through in life in order to become the dynamic woman that she is today. So, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And don't forget, hit that notification bell so that you can listen in on the new interviews as they come. And guess what? I would love to do an interview with you. So hit me up so we can share our motivational stories to encourage these other women. Thank you so much for coming today. Hello, Wrinkles family. I am here today. It is hot here in Arizona, but I wanted to bring someone who has just a cool spirit about herself. I'm so excited to have her come to the Wrinkles family today. So I'm going to have her introduce herself to Wrinkles.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Wrinkles. My name is Tiffany Matthews. I am a California native. Lived in Arizona. It'll be 20 years this December. I'm a mother. I'm a wife of almost 22 years. I'm a mother of 4, 2 dogs, and entrepreneur. Heavily involved with ministry at my church, Faith Christian Center, and happy to be on today.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for coming. And you look amazing for that California weather that keep that skin and everything. Just
listen,
amazing.
I'll take whatever it is, whatever is making it happen. I'll take it.
You'll take it. Well, if you had any physical changes, what did you feel, or how did you feel when you had maybe a little change as you progressed through life?
Probably the biggest change wasn't necessarily the wrinkles itself. For me, it was my skin going from always being greasy, always being oily, always being shiny. And then it's like, as I got a little bit closer to 40, I started noticing it was a little bit dry. At first, it was just seasonal dryness. I was just like, okay, whatever. I just kind of ignored it. But then I realized that it wasn't just seasonal dryness. And now I am all the way a dry skin girly. I mean, I do have my products and my regimen in place to keep my skin hydrated. But I would have never thought, I thought I was going to be a greasy girl till the day that I die. I mean, I oil blotting papers, constantly just, fighting the shine. And now it is literally the complete opposite. Never would I have expected that in my journey towards, my journey in life. So that part was very interesting.
Wow, that's something. I mean, I guess I never even realized that my skin has changed. I wonder how many people are not realizing that as they get older, because I had combination skin forever. So even, when questions are asked to me, I will automatically say combination.
Right.
My skin is actually dry, to be honest. As I got older, because I always feel like I have to extra moisturize my face. And
yes.
I never thought about, you're older, so your skin has changed. Education for us out here.
Yes. And I run into that a lot with the ladies that I consult in my business. They get to 40, 45, and they realize that their skin is different. And what they were doing to maintain their skin, it stops working, but you just kind of get in a rut, in a routine, and you just keep doing the same things over and over again. And then you realize, like, wait a minute, this is not working. Things are different. I need some help. So that's kind of where I come in.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to talk about more of how you're going to help us, ladies. Because, listen, once 40 hit, everything totally changed. And something like you said, I didn't even realize. Now that you're saying it, look, a little aha moment came in.
Yes,
my skin has definitely changed, and I didn't even think about it. Not once thought about it. I'm like, I'm combination skin. No, I'm dry as dirt.
Yes. Isn't that so funny how that happens?
I'm totally dry all the time.
Oh my goodness.
That aha moment. Well, thank you for that aha moment.
You're welcome.
Can't wait. We're going to talk more about how you're going to help other people as
Mm-hmm.
we go forward. But as we go through life and we have those aha moments, we also have some moments that are, changing us, and we have
Mm-hmm.
to press through some wrinkles in life. Can you speak about a moment that you had to press through in life?
Oh man, I would say the biggest, most impactful moment was when I was 29 years old. I was pregnant with my youngest son, and that pregnancy he ended up being born premature. I had him at 29 weeks, and he spent the first 524 days of his life in the hospital, and not in and out of the hospital consecutive. So when I brought him home from the hospital, he was 17 months old. And in that time that he was in the hospital, well, first off, just for myself, I would say that it was by hands down the most difficult thing I had ever gone through in my life. I was dealing with being just absolutely heartbroken for my son, for my family, absolutely disappointed. I mean, he was the last one. We had planned it. It didn't take me long to get pregnant. I'm a fertile myrtle, so you just look at me and I'm pregnant. So, and never had perfect pregnancies. I enjoy being pregnant. He was the last baby. I had no reason to think that anything was going to be any different than any of the other times. And that was not the experience at all. I ended up spending 5 weeks on hospitalized bed rest, trying to stay pregnant as long as possible. And literally on the 29th day, and if you know anything about premature babies, 29 weeks is when the lungs finish developing. From that point forward, the lungs are just growing. And so literally on the day that he turned 29 weeks, I went into labor. I was in the hospital still. We weren't able to stop the labor, and I had an emergency C-section. And when I say emergency, I called my husband at 6:16 and told them they were wheeling me to the emergency room right now, and you need to get to the hospital. And he was born via emergency C-section at 6:23. So just that fast. They call it a splash and dash because they don't really have time to scrub you down. They just put the mask on, throw the stuff on you, and cut you open. I mean, he still has a gash in his head from when they cut me open, and the scalpel cut his scalp. So he still has a scar to this day. And he's 14, but he's 14 now. God give the glory. It was, and like I said, it tested my faith in so many ways. It challenged me, but I learned so much in the process, and I'm so grateful that I was able to literally cling to God with everything that I had, because it was not pretty. It was not a pretty situation. There were so many ups and downs, so many for his progress, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So many times when our hopes were dashed, when we were he would make progress, and he would get to a little window where the doctors would say, well, if he continues to do this, we can start talking about going home. And every time that came up, it would be like something would happen. There would be another setback. So there was just so much frustration, so much sadness that I had to deal with. But I clung to God because that was all I knew. I was a church girl. I've been talking to Jesus since I was so as long as I can remember, all my life. I don't know nothing else. And so it's like, well, I'd rather do this with God than without God. That was all I knew. And so the way I kind of pressed through that was when there was a time when my son's name is Luke, he had his first code. He coded 4 times in the time he was in the hospital. So the first time that he coded, they brought us into this little room. And as they were explaining to us what was going on, and they were telling us there was a good chance that he was not going to make it through the night, I could literally feel the presence of God hovering in the room. And At one point, I stopped listening to what the doctor was saying because I could hear God's voice clear as day say, I have the power to raise him out of this, to raise him up out of this hospital without anything, without anything being wrong with him, without any tubes, any wires, because he was connected to everything. At one point, I remember counting 13 lines when he was in the hospital. And so I clung to that encounter. I clung to that encounter, and it changed. It marked me, and it changed me because I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was bringing my baby home, not home on hospice like they were trying to tell me, not home on palliative care like they were trying to tell me, but home to live with his siblings, to live with his family, to be with his family. And I clung to that, and it didn't matter what was going. It didn't matter what happened. It didn't matter what they said. They said all kinds of stuff. They counted him out so many times. They told us that he wouldn't make it so many times. They told us that we should just end care because he was not going to improve. I mean, they told us all kinds of lies, that his lungs were not going to grow. He was going to outgrow his lungs and then pass away. He might need lung transplant. I mean, they were just floating and saying all kinds of things. But I only clung to that encounter and what God said. And I didn't know a lot of spiritual things at that time. I just, I was not necessarily new in my walk, but kind of, as far as taking personal responsibility for my walk and not just going to church and being spoon-fed a sermon from the pastor. But I was new in the sense that I was taking personal responsibility. And so it was, so I didn't know a whole lot. And I remember years after thinking about that situation, like, man, like, I wish I knew how to pray in tongues. I wish at that time, I wish I knew more Bible. I wish I knew this. But when I heard Holy Spirit tell me, you had my son. And so that was enough. And so that was all we needed. That was all I needed. I had him, and it was enough. And so that was that whole time frame. So just let me back up. There was a moment when my son had coded. I was in the room, and I'm watching the monitors, and I'm watching his stats just go down, go down, go down, go down. And eventually the room, I can't even count. I don't even remember how many people just flooded the room. And I just stood there. Normally in those situations, they escort the parents out because it's a big deal. And I just stood there. And so the nurse one of the doctors was like, how are you able to just stand here and sit here and watch all this? And in my mind, I was just like, because I know my baby is coming home. So it didn't matter what my eyes saw. It didn't matter what the situation was. It didn't matter what I was seeing. I knew that my baby was coming home. So code or not. And like I said, he ended up coding 4 times. He had so many situations, so many setbacks, but glory to God. He came home when he was 17 months old. He came home with a nurse 12 hours a day in our home for the first 5 years of his life. He came home on a ventilator. He came home with every kind of, just so much stuff. It was a lot. But God saw him through. He outgrew all of it, and now he's healthy. He's strong. He's silly, and we just absolutely love him. He just graduated from the 8th grade. He's headed to high school, and just to God be the glory.
Wow, the glory! Oh my goodness, that
absolutely.
Is amazing. That is amazing. He's on his way to high school.
Yes, on his way to high school, despite everything that, the doctors tried to put on him and tell us, he is, on his way to high school, healthy, as he could be. And I just give all praise and honor to God.
They say a mother's prayer, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Something about a mother's
Absolutely.
You said something powerful, is that, I think a lot of people think they have to know scriptures and know a specific prayer. But if you just ask and have faith of a mustard seed, right?
That really, yeah, that's it. That was all I had. I mean, I was new to, like, I knew some word, but I didn't know it like I know now, and I just did what I knew to do. I knew to look up scriptures about healing, and I read those scriptures over him. I prayed those scriptures over him. I read them to myself. I clung to those things, but really, I did all that I knew to do at that time. And God is, I think what it showed me that I had his son. That's all. When God looks down at us, he just sees his son. And we think we have to, just like you were saying, we think that we have to know and have and do all these different things. But it was just like, I just had that little bit of faith, and that was enough.
Enough. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And the fact that he has a cut in his head still to today shows that he is not a product of what he went through. It's a walking testimony. That is just a blessing in itself.
Absolutely. He still has the scars from his PIC lines. He had lines almost the entire time in this hospital. But he was born with these very interesting markings all over his body. Some of them were open wounds when he was born. So he has a lot of scarring. It almost looks like he was burned. But so I look at those scars and those marks all the time. All the time. He just never ceases to amaze me. He never ceases to amaze me. And so he's literally, you see the scars, and there's a story behind all of it.
Yes, just like the wrinkles that we get, it's
Absolutely.
wrinkles and that's why, this has been so significant for women to come and share these stories. And I mean, I keep thinking about, I don't even know what he looks like because I never looked at the picture, but I could just imagine, like, he knows now that he is truly a warrior for God because he's been through the battle and he has the scars to show it.
Yes.
Although he's been through the battle, he is still walking in God,
Oh, yes. And he loves the Lord. He loves praise and worship. I mean, if he's having a day, he was having a little off day the other day. And so I brought him into my room. I put on one of his favorite worship videos to watch. He loves to watch William McDowell's Revival. It's like an hour and some change. And he will sit there and he will stand up and he will clap and jump. And he loves the Lord. He loves praise and worship. He loves going to church. And yeah, so I just thank God that even though, I'm not teaching him, how he learns about God is different than the other kids. He still has a knowing. He still knows the Lord, and he's making an impact. He's making an impact in his class. His teacher told me months ago that, one of the rewards that they could get in class was they get to pick their music when they finish with their work. So he always picks the praise and worship song. So one of his favorite songs is This Little Light of Mine. And so he'll have that playing in the class. And even some of the other teachers would come by and they would peek their head in the classroom like, okay, we got the gospel going on in the classroom. And I was just like, look at you. Just even in the smallest thing, he's still sharing his faith, even though he can't verbally say, witness and testify, now. And I believe that day is coming, but he is still able to share his faith through his music. And I just love that for him.
Oh my gosh. But I'm a visual person sometimes. And just the fact that he came from faith, like
yes,
in faith when you were laying, because I worked women and infant services as a social worker, seen all of it. From the women that were in bed fighting for their baby to be delivered to when the baby was delivered and in the NICU for months. And I've seen the good of the baby going home and I've seen the other side of it.
Yeah.
And, it was all about the fact that what she was feeling that helped that baby survive in the NICU, and I just visualize that you had so much faith while you were laying there, because bedridden is not easy in a hospital. I never went through it, but as a social worker and going in to see those mothers who were going through that, feel how hard it was. And C-sections are definitely not easy. And
Mm-hmm.
for you to have a quick one, I can't even imagine what your body went through. But
Yeah.
when he was pulled from you, he was pulled from your body of faith. He was pulled, wrapped around in faith in God, because you had so
Yeah.
much absorbed in you. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. I'm just saying all that. It's
Yeah.
just, I just
Yeah. I love that.
visualize that God, he was already birthed into God. He was birthed right
Yeah.
into God's faith and hands. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why he was able to survive that many days in the NICU. That is
Yeah.
a lot of days in the NICU. Um,
And we started out at the NICU. We were transferred to another hospital briefly. That stint did not work. He ended up regressing seriously, and then he had to go back to the hospital. And at that point, he was in the PICU. And all the times that he was always transferred at night. And so he did not even see the sun until he was about 15 or 16 months old, because the both transfers. And he ended up going his last let's see, 5 months in hospital care was the same hospital that he did bad at the first time. And so it was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of back and forth. Eventually you outgrow the NICU, and then they have to try to figure out what to do with you. And so that was a whole journey in and of itself.
Oh, wow. What advice would you give to a mother that maybe is currently in that NICU, looking in that at that PICU, trying to pray, having those discouraging moments? What advice would you give that mother?
I would just tell a mother to really keep your eyes on God. Like, it's so hard because going in the NICU and the PICU can be such a overwhelming place. In some NICUs, you're able to see all the babies, so you can see the ones that are maintaining and the ones that are not, the ones that are there one day and the ones that are gone the next day, the ones that have family that come in and visit them, and the one that you never see any family come to be with that baby. And so it can be such a heavy place, such a almost, and even dark if you're not careful, such a heavy and such a dark place. And so you have to find your faith and cling to it, because if you let your eyes take in everything that you see around you, you won't be, how will you hold on? And you're taking in so much, even with your own child. You're sitting there, you're staring at these monitors. The doctors and the nurses are speaking a whole nother language to you, about the things that are going on with your child. You're making decisions at a moment by to moment basis. And so you really do just have to find that one thing, whatever that one thing is. For me, it was that encounter with God. It was that encounter with God. For somebody else, it might be your scripture, or it might be prayer, or whatever it is. But I clung to that encounter that I had with him in that room. Like, that was all I knew. And so I would just tell any mother that's in the NICU is to don't let what you see around you dictate how you feel moment by moment, and do the things to take care of yourself. I remember one of the nurses telling me, she said, your babies, they don't remember when you're not there, but they know when you are there. And so that really helped me, because there were some days when I couldn't go. I couldn't go and be with him, and I would feel terrible. I feel so terrible. But when she told me that, it was just like a switch went off in my mind. So, and I had other kids. We have 4 kids. And so we have 3 other kids to take care of. My husband was working. And so it was a lot going on. And so I had to cling to his word, not let myself be distracted by everything that was going on. And I had to take the time to take care of myself, for sure. And don't let the enemy tell you that, to be, feeling guilty, like you're no good, standing there over your child and you haven't taken a shower, you're tired, you haven't had a decent meal. You know what I mean? Like, now the hospital, they do have some good food, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes I just needed to leave the hospital and just go out and just get some sunlight, so you need to do those things to take care of yourself. And so I would just encourage any mother just to remember to take, it's okay, not just remember to take care of yourself, but it's okay to take care of yourself.
That is so good. That's so powerful as well that the nurse had said that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we also need to take that with us in just life in general.
Right.
As parents, as caregivers for others, even, caring for the elderly and things are disabled,
Mm-hmm.
is that they do feel us when we're there. And even if they're aware enough to know that we're there, they also feel the energy when we're exhausted, already
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves, doing
Mm-hmm.
our best for
Right.
them, you know.
Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
loving somebody enough to take care of yourself so you can be the caregiver or the person that they need.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so important. Wow. So now that it's been years later, but it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like and it feels like it's still impactful of what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
But you're here now, and let's say you had a
Yes.
shirt made, and that shirt was signify the woman that has been through that. What would
Mm-hmm.
that shirt say?
I would say it would say resilient. That would be my one word. It was is resilient. Like the enemy tried to take me out, me and my son out, but I'm still here. We're still here, and yeah, resiliency 100%.
100%. I love that. I want to add a question to this,
Sure.
because as a social worker, like I said, I dealt with women infant services, but I also worked at Phoenix Children, so I
Mm-hmm.
really was hands on with dealing with this. How, as a couple,
Mm.
what advice? You don't even have to tell me how it affected you as a couple.
Right.
But what advice would you give the couples? Because that is the thing that I observed. And,
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Phoenix Children before having children. So I
Mm.
had to deal with a lot of couples that were dealing with these situations and NICU, PICU, and things like that. What advice would you give these couples?
Oh man. To do your best to work together. Like my husband and I, we really had to work together to make sure that our family stayed moving. We continue to take care of our other kids and we continue to support our son in the hospital. So there are days when he would go, then I would go. If my husband, at one point he was working not too far from the hospital. So he would be like, okay, I went to go see the baby today. And so we would take turns going. Sometimes we'd be able to go together. Sometimes we would be able to spend the night there together with him if he was having a particular difficult moment. Um, and he was, my husband helped me out so much. He was like, because there would be times when the hospital I felt were trying to get me to, I felt like they weren't listening to me. And so in those moments, it was like I had to pull out the big guns and and call my husband and be like, talk to these people. And so he was there. He was just as involved as I was. And even there were moments where, like I mentioned before, it felt like the hospital was trying to convince me to end care. Once my husband realized that was what was happening, he ended that level of communication immediately. It was just like, yep, nope, because I was the only one who was going to those meetings. So we really had to work together. Of course, we still had the same whatever struggles that your marriage is going through before. They're still going to be there, and so we were still having to deal with that. But we still took our kids on vacation. We still dated. At some point, we got to the point where we felt comfortable going out on date nights. And so I think the important thing is like, it can be so tempting to throw all of your energy and all of your effort and all of your attention on this one child that's going on and completely neglect the marriage. But I think my husband being the person that that just was not going to happen with us. It just wasn't going to happen with us. And so somebody has to be in there fighting for everything else. And so even though a lot of the times I was on the front lines, I was probably at the hospital the most. And of course, in the very beginning, I was pumping. So of course I was there a lot. But he was there supporting those other kids. He was there making sure that they ate, that my daughter had her hair done, that the kids went to their activities. And so he's always been a very hands-on husband. Like, I love that about us. We've always worked together to make sure that the kids needed, the kids had, that we were able to do everything. So it was never like one person doing all the things. So that just continued, even though, we had this new thing that we had to deal with, it just continued. And honestly, I just thank God for his preserving power. He is a preserver. Like, I don't have an exact formula. I don't have an exact formula of how it all worked out. I just know that it did, and I just know it was glory to God. We stayed in church. I don't think we missed a Sunday because we needed that. We were so. I mean, the week would just because we just never knew what was going to happen from week to week, from Sunday to Sunday. I mean, I can remember, sitting in church and seeing the hospital showing up on my caller ID and running out of service to go and answer the call to see what was going on with our son. And so we just never knew what was going on. And so we stayed in church. We did not miss a Sunday. We kept those other kids in church because by the time we got to Sunday, we were empty. We were depleted. We were empty. And I really think just keeping our eyes on God, staying focused, that I really believe that God just came in and he honored that. He honored that. Whatever it looks like, whatever our commitment looked like to him, God honored it. And he showed up and he preserved us. He is a preserver for sure.
For sure. For sure. And with your resilience now, you are helping those in the community. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing and how you're helping those?
Yes. So I am, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very active with my church. And so I lead two small groups. The first one is moms of teens and young adults. So, because all of my kids are, are young adults now, and my one teenager still in high school. I am leading a Bible study for young women ages 18 to 30. And I absolutely love that. Love that, love that, love that. Just have such a heart for the word and making sure that young women are equipped. We see so many lies that are being told to young women, young people in general, but particularly young women. And I just have such a heart for that particular age group, have always have. And so, so I do lead that. I'm a part of the small group core team at my church. And then with my business, I get to help gorgeous women like you and I get their skincare figured out, like what is going on, help take the mystery out of it, and really kind of help women learn and understand the ingredients that are out there to help our skin, so that way we know what we're looking for and we know how it's going to impact our skin. So that's a little bit about what I do. Obviously, having a special needs child is a full-time job. And so, I'm busy with appointments and therapies and paperwork and doctors all the time.
Well, let's talk about the business to help us. What is it?
Yes. And so I am a skincare consultant with Mary Kay, and I love the consultant aspect of it. I really do love helping women. It's like, come, let's get this figured out. Let's get this figured out. It doesn't have to be a mystery. And so I love working with women to help them put together a regimen that's going to be effective. And, I'm not so much concerned. I'm also concerned about your lifestyle, because I don't want you to just have a regimen and you come home and you have all this stuff and you don't know, and it's not conducive to your lifestyle. And so there's a fine line between helping women get a skincare regimen and helping her get a regimen that's going to work for her and her lifestyle. So I take all of that into account: budget, lifestyle, because I'll even tell them, like, if you don't get this, if you're not going to use it, like, don't. We're not going to do this. If you're not going to use it, then don't get it. And so, but there are so many different products out there that can be that can be helpful. We just don't know about them. A lot of women just don't know what's out there. They don't know what to look for. And so I help them take the trial and error out of it, take the going to the store, buying stuff, coming home, trying it, pushing it under the sink, trying it, doing the whole sock and dance a month later. And then after 6 months, you got so much stuff under your sink that you spent money on, wasted money on, you're giving stuff away. Like, we do not have to do that anymore. So that is what I absolutely love to do that.
Awesome. So how do we get in touch with you to get that one-on-one support to help with this skin that we don't know about anymore?
Yes, absolutely. So a couple of ways. I'll share my email address. You can email me. My email is real easy to remember. shehasPurpose@gmail.com. I'm actually She Has Purpose everywhere on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest. So if you look up She Has Purpose on Facebook and Instagram, you will find me. I have a Facebook group. It's called the Glow Up and Beyond. And so we are there. I'm there helping ladies not just with their physical glow up, but with their mind, their spirit, their body, their health, their goals. And so that is what that group is about. And you can reach me on Facebook Messenger. Women can reach out. I do individual consultations, group beauty experiences. And so there's a lot of ways that we can address this. I have a great tool that we use that gives a biometric scan of the skin. They'll just really show you those areas of your skin that are changing, that need to be addressed. And then we work from there to put together a regimen. And right now I'm really excited about specifically anti-aging skincare, because I think a lot of time when people hear anti-aging, they immediately think of like wrinkles and just some of those things. And it's so easy to be like, oh, well, I don't necessarily have wrinkles, so I don't really need that. But a lot of those ingredients are very effective when it comes to oil control, keeping the skin hydrated, acne, and so I think we're missing out because we don't necessarily look at those things. We hear anti-aging and we don't think that it will help with acne, but it does, or hyperpigmentation. So when you hear this, so my job is to teach you the names of the ingredients that you need to be looking for, so that way you know what to get for yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you see those links coming across. Make sure you connect. I mean, we need to educate ourselves in life, throughout life. Just like we learned today, hey, you get older, you don't have combination skin sometimes. You might have. So it's great to get that education and actually get the assistance that you need. I always tell my kids, don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's throughout our whole lives, right?
Absolutely.
We grow, we get wrinkles, we get changes in our faces. There's dry spots, there's oily spots, all this kind of thing. She is the girl for you. So we are definitely
Yes, ma'am.
you connect with her. Like I said, the links are here, or you can go to wrinklesocietyhope.org, where you will find her on our page as well, and it will directly go to her from her beautiful picture that is there. And, we all need to always take care of ourselves. And that's the biggest thing that we hear for today is taking care of you inside out. Make sure that you feel that you have the tools that you need to take care of yourself. And it sounds like you got many tools with your group and also with your business that will help us make sure we stay beautiful and fine. And as we get
Yes, absolutely.
as we get older. Thank you so much for coming to the Wrinkles family today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is amazing. Thank you so
Oh, you're
much.
amazing. And I'm so glad to hear this story and the victories. And like I said, there's so many mothers. We know there are mothers and fathers that are out here right now. We are definitely praying for your strength, your resilience to
Thank
deal
you.
with what you're dealing with, and all those little babies that are NICU, PICU, or in the hospital. We are thankful that they have parents that are right there by them, and parents like
Yeah.
you that prayed and wrapped that faith around them as soon as they came out. So we thank God for that victory for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, bye, Wrinkles.
Bye, everybody.